Everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is just under 2 minutes until this fantastic live stream is going to be in your eyes and in your ears. And I promise you, because all the content we do is really good, that it is going to be absolutely worth the wait. We are just now checking our microphone levels, making sure the internet's okay and it's not going to go kapoom on us at any point. We've got the new compressors for the audio, so we're not spiking and not hurting your ears. In the meantime, you can of course check out this incredible piece of Redmen TV merch that we designed. I think you'll agree it's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I recorded this ages ago, so it could be literally anything, but I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic. And of course, don't forget as well, we've got our own streaming platform, that is Redmen Plus. Redmen Plus is the home of Redmen TV and has absolutely everything we do there, from in-depth documentary series to more relaxed podcast stuff like we do on the main channel on YouTube. So yeah, it's not going to be long now. It's around about 50 seconds. At this point, peek behind the curtain, what is normally happening is we're all panicking. I normally need a piss, to be quite honest with you at this point, and then have to run off. And Tom's normally sat in the room going, what's he doing? I've got no idea. Where's he gone? And it's always for a wee, because I've got a really small bladder and I can only last about 40 minutes normally, which is hell when you go and watch a Liverpool game, because they're 45 minutes off, especially when you've had a pint. But it is what it is, and we live where we live, and we've got to deal with what we've got to deal with. And I promise you that this content is coming up in less than 11 seconds time. And yeah, it's 9, it's 8, it's 7, it's 6, it's 5, it's 4, it's 3, it's 2, it's 1. It's your content.
Hey everyone, it is Redmen Originals Podcast time. I'm Paul Machin, Chris Page, Chloe Bloxham, Dan Clubb in the studio with me for this one. We're going to talk Liverpool Arsenal and how we were absolutely atrociously robbed of 3 points by horrendous officiating by shock Paul Tierney. And
you could have inserted any referee's name there and I would have had no problems with
of them. There was a point, and we've done a lot of like bald referee chat this year, but there's a guy next to me who'd never been there before to my knowledge anyway, and he like, you're bald, and the guy next to him just went, hey mate, can we leave the bald stuff a little bit, because there's a few of us around here. I was like, yeah. Just thought, yeah, it was nice.
Steve went the game.
No, yeah, absolutely. In Steve's absence, someone's got to make that point. And we're going to talk about Liverpool's remaining fixtures. We've got 9 games left of the season and how we're feeling all about that. But yeah, we'll come to that in due course. Not a kick-off question per se, because I've not totally thought this one through. But who of the people involved in the game yesterday come across like the biggest knobheads? And bearing in mind, I've probably given the answer already. Has anyone got any contenders? Because I thought Arsenal fans, I thought they conducted themselves wonderfully around the minute silence. The club conducted itself, obviously, with class and dignity in the build-up to it, which, of course, I think all clubs do when they play Liverpool around the Hillsborough anniversary, by the way. But there were some things in that game where I remembered this isn't like nicey, oh, let's clap Arsenal and all that. There's a number of players and people involved that I don't like, and it was quite nice to have them reborn. But did anyone do anyone's head in particularly around the game?
Outside the linesman.
Yeah.
Not him.
And the referee.
Like one of the players we're talking here.
Anyone?
Not the line.
No, I mean, if you've not got one.
Jesus or Martinelli.
I think Jesus is the candidate.
I wanted Martinelli.
Martinelli's the one where Canate lifts his leg close to him and he stays down, clutching at his face. He didn't touch him, mate. Not at all.
Again, the lads around me shouted, and there's a good point on this, is if Martinelli's convinced he's been kicked in the face, I'd go up to him and go, right, we're going to do VAR on that, mate. Are you certain that you got kicked in the face, or are you going to get up? Because we're going to go to VAR with it. And if you go to VAR and you've not been kicked in the face, then I'm going to book you or send you off for diving. How's that? And see how quickly it takes him to get up onto the pitch again. Because they did that too many times in that game. Like the fading head injury stuff does my head in, because referees can't be the ones to go, nah, you're fine, get up, because there's too much and a reasonable amount of scrutiny on the head injury stuff. But yeah, Martinelli, and the fact that he was celebrating in front of our fans and giving it the extra biff there,
as soon as the goal went in, didn't even look his way. I was more looking at the players on the pitch thinking, again.
They give it the big one, like he did. But there's loads like yesterday, wasn't it, from the Arsenal, that just tells me in terms of every time we had anything like an attack, somebody go down. Ramsdale went down with something in his eye early doors. It was like a normal headed clearance. I think it was Gabriel. He was down, head injury. It was constant. But it was definitely a tactic from Arteta, that, by the way. It was 100% the thing they were doing.
Yeah, it's a dark art, isn't it? You have to do that if you're fighting for a league title and stuff. And...
especially at Anfield. I think you wanted to quell the crowd, if you like.
I think, look, Xhaka could be on the list, but he helped us.
Yeah.
So him doing Xhaka things actually plays into our hands. I was made up he started doing all that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have been back. We wouldn't have drawn the game if it wasn't for Granit Xhaka.
Really?
I don't think so.
Here's the weird thing is, I thought the atmosphere was good from the off. And I remember we went 1-0 down, and Salah, after the goal, was going to the crowd to tell him to get up. And I thought to myself, nah, the crowd has been up. It's yous on the pitch you haven't here. And then what happened was it went 2-0. And then it got silent because people just thought to themselves, how are you playing like this again? How many times do we need to watch it? The same football game happening on replay, just a different team we're up against.
Yeah.
And it was Xhaka that ignited us again. Yeah. But from the off, our atmosphere was decent.
Yeah, I have never been that angry watching a game of football at Anfield. Like I'm just not that kind of person, because up to the point of like screaming at the players or shouting at them in particular. But honestly, like I was like, because I started off and we were chatting, we were walking to the ground, Chloe, and we were saying, I just don't really have any feelings about this team anymore. I've kind of detached myself from it. I feel a bit sad. I don't really feel anger or wound up. I just feel a bit like, I'll enjoy the good moments in the football matches. There were moments I enjoyed in the Chelsea game. There were moments I enjoyed in the City game. That'll be what it'll be. And there's nothing really I can do about it. I can't afford to tie my emotions into it anymore. By the time that second goal went in, fuck me. Genuinely, it was like, it was something and 34 years or whatever I've gone to Anfield. I've never, let's say held abuse. I didn't hail abuse. But I did shout angrily at players like Virgil van Dijk looked for that second goal for me like he was just like, meh.
Not asked at all.
It's a goalless. From the moment it left the guy's boot for the cross, he was like, this is a goal. Well, nothing I can do about this because it's pre-written in the stars. And I was just like, and that seemed to be the attitude from absolutely everyone. They spawned the first goal, but after that, it was just like, now Arsenal are the champions, Arsenal are going to steamroll us. Poor old Liverpool, fucking get us a fucking ambulance, let's take us out of here, let's go, let's wind the season up, let's wind the football club in and all, just have another month and a half off. And I was raging with it, but then, Granit Xhaka acted like a prick, Trent stood up to it. And from then on, it was like Liverpool were reborn. I absolutely loved every second of it after that, which is mad because I was prepared I was ready, and I'm certain it would have happened. They were getting booed off at half time if they'd not picked themselves up, because that was the worst. That was the angriest, the tetchiest at Liverpool the crowd's been. But yeah, Granit Xhaka saved us really. More of that Arsenal, you fucking gang of idiots, absolute idiots. Dan, the fight was brilliant. I really, really genuinely was. We could have just crumbled and walked off there and gone, held our hands up and gone, that's it, season done. No worries about it. And look, it is an ambition, it might well be. We'll come on to that, but all we ever really ask for is to see the players go out there and be a bit more blood and thunder. They achieved that, and they actually almost got the 3 points as well.
Yeah, they did, yeah. And it just shows you how far a bit of effort can go if you sort of put it in the right places. And it was there to see yesterday, wasn't it? We've said it for a long time this season, sort of. We know the quality is not at the levels it has been in previous years. We were fully aware of that now. We've watched that time and time again. What we expect as a bare minimum is that fight, that desire, that passion, and that wants to get a result from a game. And it wasn't on show for half an hour yesterday. But like you've already said, thanks to Granit Xhaka, we kind of ignited that, within the players and certainly in the stands. Chloe's right, the atmosphere may well have been there to begin with, but what we witnessed kind of subdued the atmosphere, I think it's probably fair to say, and it needed something to kickstart it again. But what I was most pleased about, and to a man, I should say before we go into this, to a man, there was fight, there was desire, there was passion. But I do also want to say that the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold in particular, and Ibrahim Konate in particular, took it upon themselves to drive us forward and to take that game by the scruff of the neck. And they weren't going to just be bystanders and watch Arsenal steamroll us and watch them come to Anfield and play nice football and beat us comfortably. They weren't having that. And I think especially for Trent, because Ibrahim Konate's kind of been not immune from criticism, but he hasn't been a part of a lot of it because of his injuries and his in and out nature of the season. But Trent has been front and centre of a lot of criticism this season. So for him to take a game like that, to scruff the neck and say, no, I'm not having this, and to drive us forward from then on out was massive for me.
Felt like, I remember the Merseyside derby during COVID when Henderson goes off injured. He starts centre half, doesn't he? He goes off injured, and then Trent's like the last man standing almost, and he's trying everything, but he's right back. There's only a limit to what he can do. I know you've done a bit on this, and you're going to be doing more on this, Chris, but it felt like Trent was actually allowed to go and grab the game. You know, and he was just all the better for it. You know, trusting a brilliant footballer, letting him loose almost. That was Trent playing angry. I got Steven Gerrard feelings watching that kind of performance out of him. I thought he was great.
It's the one thing that I don't think Trent does often enough, to be honest with you, because obviously Trent's such a talented footballer and he's so good with the ball at his feet that he can do anything on a pitch and we're used to it. But I can't remember him grabbing the game by a scruff of the neck like that before. Like, you know, where it's like he set the tempo with actually fronting up Xhaka and pushing him in the back and stuff. And then from there, it was every challenge. It was 50-50s. He was going in and he was going full-blooded trying to win those challenges, and he knew the effect that it was having on the crowd. And I think great players sometimes can get the crowd involved, and he was able to do that. He got us all on side and we got angry, and Arsenal sort of do what they do, and that is under the light or Anfield in front of a big crowd, they panicked. They're like a deer in headlights, and Trent was able to get us all into that situation, but it was with the ball at his feet. I mean, what he did to Zinchenko essentially made him sub him off, I reckon, because that was absolutely hilarious, getting with the nutmeg and stuff like that. But Trent was just brilliant all game long. I think after that happened, he just took control of absolutely everything and everybody and went, no, this is it. And it's not something that Trent does, and that's the biggest thing. And what I loved about Liverpool's performance more than anything is we were playing a better side than us, and we dragged them down to our level. And so many times over the last few years when we've had poor results, admittedly few and far between, a team has dragged us down to their level. Not once this season, I think, has Liverpool ever dragged a team who were better than them down to their level. And that was the big difference maker for me.
What? Can I just jump in on that Trent thing? The first 20 minutes when we were absolutely abysmal, I did not know what the hell we were trying to do with him. Yeah. He wasn't in the game. We had no width. Konate had no outball at all. You could see Konate literally panicking because he didn't have anyone's pass to. Konate was getting dragged wide as a right back, which is why Martinelli does the ball in to Gabriel Jesus, who gets it 2-0, because Trent is then having to fill in at like a right centre half. First 20 minutes when no one was on it, I could not understand what the hell we were trying to do. And I was begging for us to switch it back and fix it. Yeah. But once we actually got the tempo and the intensity and we played the level that we want to play, and we did it on our terms, we didn't let them control the ball. First 20 minutes, they had so much possession. It was literally like we were sat there admiring them, admiring the football that they were playing. But once we actually got to it and we controlled the game, that's when you could see how brilliant he was. But for the first 20, I was dumbstruck with what the hell was going on.
But it wasn't just Trent, it was Robertson as well. Yeah. They were doing it to both wingers, weren't they? And that's the thing. You know, we talked about it on the deep dive on Friday, me and Josh, is the way that they play that box midfield. Granit Xhaka is the one that always makes the run from like an advanced 8 on the left-hand side in between Konate and Trent Alexander-Arnold. One of them's got to go with him, which frees up the outball on the other side. Equally, on the flip side of that, Odegaard's doing it, which frees up space for Saka. And that's the difficult thing that Liverpool were trying to deal with early doors. It's like, how do you pass him off? How do you say to your mate, well, I'm going to go with this, you've got to do that? Because you can't talk it through, per se, when the game's actually happening. You have to know what each other's doing. And I think that's the first 20 minutes is like, well, if they do this, what are we going to do together to combat it? And that's where we struggled, I think, just with their formation and what we were trying to do.
We struggled with a lack of bravery, I thought, that first half. Because again, inevitably, people have got their favourites and they're not favourites. And there was a guy near me shouting at Curtis Jones constantly. And there was a point where I just screamed. I turned around, again, don't do this in football matches off him, but I turned around and went, who the fuck's he meant to pass to? Nobody wants the ball off him. Because he's picking the ball. And this is one particular moment. I'm not saying he was like shining and whatever. He really did struggle to get into the game. But when you pass a ball to a midfielder and then he looks forward and there's not a single person looking to receive the pass, no one's moving towards him to take it off him. It was just so unbelievably
But it's
frustrating.
what we've had all season long, that. It's that too many people are just buck passing and going, well, I'll play this 5-yard pass to you. You do something with it. You do the hard thing.
No responsibility.
And when Thiago's not there, nobody wants to play the ball forwards.
There was another example of that. In the first 20 minutes, Gakpo won every single battle, every single header. He kept winning the nod on, but there was no one else running alongside him. There was no one who he could nod it down to. He was always nodding it into space, into dangerous areas, but none of our other players had made the run behind him. So that was the other point, was we were hoofing the ball up, and Gakpo probably, to a lot of people, looked absolutely crap, but he won every duel, he won every header, he won his individual battles, but there was no one else running on to the balls that he was doing to help him, or even being further up the pitch for him to nod it down, to control it to.
Yeah, it was a shitbag first 30-minute performance, and that was the most frustrating and anger-inducing part of it, because there was it just didn't look like anyone there wanted. I mean, like Gakpo performed admirably, and obviously Salah's trying to make space out the right. Trent trying to play the passes that Trent Alexander-Arnold plays, but everything else was just passed. Again, Fabinho just was a half a yard to a yard behind absolutely everything. Again, Virgil van Dijk was, that is the way. And bearing in mind that it's been a big week for me and Virgil, I've gone on I went on live television on Saturday and then all over Twitter off the back of it, defending Virgil van Dijk to the hilt. And then there's a moment where he goes over to the right back area, and I can't remember who it is, but it's Martinelli, and he just kind of like, he's just late, he's slow, he's lax, and he gets ghosted past, and it's like, mate, get off. If you're going to behave like that. But that was endemic in the whole.
Was that the one where he just boots Martinelli in the end?
You get booked.
Yeah.
It was everything about it was just like, it was accelerate. God, like, yes, yeah. I mean, again.
But after that, he was accelerating.
Yeah,
I saw him at
sound.
top speed. He was in a foot race with, I think it was Martinelli, and he pulled away from him. You're like, why aren't you doing that all the time anymore, Virgil?
It's got to be a confidence thing for me across this entire squad, because you've just seen it. You've seen it within a microcosm of a half here. First half of a half, we're miles off it, behind everything, we're second to everything. We can't win our tackles, our passes are falling short, they're intercepting. Arsenal are having a field day. They're making a mockery of us. All of a sudden, it's like you flip a switch in Liverpool and you get a bit of confidence, you get a bit of fight, and everyone throughout that team suddenly plays to their level. It's so bizarre and so frustrating to watch, but that's where we're at now.
Would it be better if we just said to the referee, can you start it at 1-0 to them?
Probably.
And that way, you know, we have to play from behind, but also you don't have to go through we conceded and we're a bit poo.
yeah.
And it doesn't knock the confidence.
No, if every team has got a bell end, could that bell end just be extra bell endish to players that we quite like? It'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I just want our players to be more affronted, you know, and I want them to feel like someone's trying to embarrass them and make them look stupid, because it's the only way to do it, because you often have this problem with, like, you know, in a boxing analogy, like the Rocky thing. It's all well and good when you're the underdog and you're running the streets and chasing chickens and all that kind of stuff and running up steps. But all of a sudden, when you get to the top and you've got the money and you've got everything, you've achieved everything, the only thing that keeps you at the top is not wanting to be knocked off the top. You know, it's like you've got more to lose all of a sudden, and it feels like our lads have just been lacking, like, whatever that is. Like, no one's going to take it off. No one's going to send them to bed early because they're grown up now. You know what I mean? No one can tell them off because they've achieved all these things. They don't look like a team that's got something to lose, and that was what happened with the Xhaka thing. It was for the first time in a long while. It was like they've gone. Yeah, they just got pissed off at the idea that someone was trying to take things off them, instead of being so passive and just going, "Oh yeah, I'm really sorry for ourselves. Go on, guys. Yeah, it's not our day today." Yeah.
It really annoys me, and this might be an agony rant in the case of, like, I can't stand our players, because that Liverpool, if you show, literally...
Tell them how you really feel.
They did not... Arsenal couldn't handle us. They did not want anything to do with us. Once we got on a level where we were like, we're having a go at yous. We're not letting yous come to Anfield and play us off the park anymore. And when you actually saw that reaction, we were the much better side. We should have walked out there with 3 points. They've gone from a 2-0 lead in a title race to sitting there saying, thank God we came away with a point here. Thank God for that. Why aren't I seeing that every game? Why? It angers me at the fact that, look, the players are still there. It's still inside you. It's still unbelievable. Where the hell has it been all season? Why am I seeing it for 45 minutes in one game? Why do you need something to get you up for it? It's a game in the Premier League. It's a game for top 4, potentially. I don't think it is, but we can say that it is. But it's a game to maybe affect the title race. It annoys me that it takes something like that to get our players up.
Yeah, well, that unfortunately, I agree with you 100%, but that unfortunately is the nature of a side who's between 4th and 6th best, 7th best in the league. You can, how many times you hear, we can beat anyone on our day. The mark of a great side is consistency. Yeah. That's the difference. We've still got it.
Great sides just do.
Great sides just do it every single week, and we're not a great side anymore. That's the painful thing, is each of those players has been part of a great side. So you think they'd be able to remember what that sort of magic dust is that makes them that, but inconsistent sides are the mark of 3rd to 8th.
See, I could take that a little bit more if I didn't think that it was also something to do with desire. Because I look at those players some days and think, they can't be asked. They're feeling sorry for themselves, they can't be asked, and they're not putting it in. And I've said that, I reckon, half of the games this season, and I feel like I've actually seen that. So this is the difference. I don't get why some days, like, you can show up and just not have a care in the world, like we did the first 20, where Virgil and Robertson, no one's talking to each other. Gabriel's got the space of everywhere, and we just don't give a damn to try and mark him, to try and do the simple thing of defending. And then 20 minutes later, on top, we should be winning a game of football. That is what annoys me, is the fact that sometimes I see no attitude, and sometimes I see unbelievable attitude where I feel like we can win a game of football against the best side in the league.
I think a lot of it boils down to what the thing we've said all along, is that you need lads in the prime who've not just got the fight and the determination, but they know the system inside and out, and they've got the technical ability as well. And at the moment, it was still Jordan Henderson doing all the running around, trying to having a Jordan Henderson kind of game, and lacking other people to kind of join him on the crusade. It was just like an empty tank, looking at them going, who's going to be the one that busts the narrative here, who's not here for narratives, he's here for Liverpool are going to win this game. And we haven't got enough of those lads anymore, and the ones who've got it just don't seem to have it's like they're lacking that gear to take them on and do it. And this is why we have this on our day. When we're not faced with adversity, we'll pants all kinds of teams, and we've done that plenty of times this season. But that was, for me, what was most important about this, because I did think while I was watching it, because I was perfectly happy. I wasn't happy, the opposite. I could have foreseen a world where I was just like, I'm just not even going to watch this team again, because if they can't be asked to put a fucking shift in, why am I giving up important parts of my life to go and watch a fucking gang of fucking millionaires swan around the pitch not giving a shit? But if we were going to try and turn a season around, then you needed to have it. It wasn't just going to fix itself. It's not just going to you're not just going to turn up on a game and it's fine. They actually need to come. They need a win. I don't just mean 3 points. I mean they need to win a battle. They need to come through adversity and feel buoyed by it. In a weird way, beating Manchester United 7-0, party time, great. Everyone will remember that game for all time. But it didn't show us anything new about ourselves. We put 9 past Bournemouth earlier on in the season. This team can win football matches. What it can't win is games in adversity. And that was the first time I think we probably needed the win from this, if I'm honest. But I felt like there was at least something there where they can actually not just go, oh, there's some nice moments and there's some nice build-up play. It was like, no, fucking look at what happens when you actually stand up and broaden your chest out and really go for it. It did feel a little bit like potentially, if you're going to build something, you needed to. That was the bigger win than almost the 3 points, if that makes sense. Is that they can go, there's a hero moment where you've dug deep and shown you've still got the ability to dig deep, and as you say, Chloe, then kind of go and do it. remains to be seen whether they can do it, Dan. But
well, our ability or inability rather to respond to setbacks this season has been criminal, quite frankly. And I've banged on about it many times on numerous different shows. I've spoke to sports psychologists and our experts about it, about just how Liverpool can't respond to setbacks this season. And it's something we used to pride ourselves in. That it matter how many minutes we remain in the game previously, because our mentality and our ability to keep going in games and sort of get the result we wanted in the end was always there, and it was clear to see. But that's completely deserted us this season. And couple that with the fact that we don't start games well, it was a recipe for disaster, wasn't it? You don't start games well and you can't respond to setbacks, like, you're gonna have a bad season if you put them two together, and that's what we've been facing. So I think you're right. I think yesterday, even though we didn't end up obviously getting the 3 points that we so desperately needed and wanted, I actually think what we showed in that game, particularly sort of the last hour of it, might stand us in better stead for the remainder of the season and even going into next year as well, because this is all going to play a part. Like, that showed yesterday that there are still certain lads, not all of them, who are willing to fight and have got that within themselves to sort of rouse themselves from the dead. Because I, like you, Chloe, and probably like you guys as well, have been questioning a lot of these lads recently and saying, how much do they actually want it? How much do they want to be a part of this side now and the side moving forwards? But yesterday, and hopefully continues to remain in 9 games, showed me that there are still lads within that, Trent especially, and Canate, and a few others, who deserve to be and have what it takes to be part of this side in the future.
So before half time, Chris, was a huge part of that as well. Because I think if you go in at half time and then it's like the manager's got to go and have another fucking word with you, being able to actually do that in play was a much more positive thing than actually, you go in, you get a rocket up the arse, and then you come back in the second half.
I've got a bit of a problem with how we've been speaking about this team for a while now, and it kind of just dawned on me when you were all talking there. You were talking about, watching millionaires swan around, and you're questioning the desire, and I think we've all done that at times this season. But when we responded, they responded. That's what happened yesterday. And that's maybe something that I think has crept into Anfield all season long, is that because we concede those early goals, the crowd goes, oomph. And it's Jurgen's doubters to believers right from the very start of all of this. Like, if we don't stand and believe in that side, we're going to struggle to be that side that goes on and achieves thing again, because that's what we did. He did the West Brom thing, the 2-2, and he did that, and the crowd stayed in answer of him saying, you were leaving, you don't believe we can do this. Well, yesterday everyone believed we could do it. Yesterday everyone did, and what happened on the football field?
Well, the problem we've got with this is that it's the side that's robbed the belief from the fans.
Yeah, that's my exact
two-way
point.
street, isn't it?
Of course it is.
That is my exact point.
But we're not fans
We're
who go in
and supporting. We're still there. That atmosphere from the very beginning was right.
Chloe, there was fucking half the stand in the friggin' concourse. There was half a stand in the concourse with 6 minutes of the first half to go. Missed our goal. Let me tell you this story. Right. So James has nipped to the toilet and he hears the cheer of everybody, and the fella next to him, so it wasn't that loud, and it was where I was anyway, and I'm sure it was, but where they were, it's a little way in the concourse, and some fella grabbed his pie while he was having a piss and threw it at the wall in front of him. Fuck's sakes, Reds. Boomf. Like, we just scored, and the fans are thinking, we've conceded a third, and everyone in the toilet apparently thought we'd conceded a third. Yeah. Like, that's not belief. Well, that's doubt.
Yeah, oh God,
and this is what creeps in. And of course, you've got to. It's stupid to say anything other than they've got to show us as well. But when it went 1-0 down, what did we do? Did we have that big cheer? Did we go at 5-10 minutes of it? Because that's what Liverpool fans do normally, and we didn't do that.
Not 3/4 of the way into the season. I think the problem is it goes back to Chloe's point, is that it's 3/4 of the season of being browbeaten by going, no, come on, Liverpool, we'll give you the raw, we'll go, and then just fucking letting it down and letting down. This is a cumulative.
But this is the problem, though, isn't it? And I think we're part of the problem, and I think all the other fan channels are part of the problem. When you're out there going, Liverpool can win 10 games in a row, and they don't, your expectations are fucking like this. Like, how many times people go, we're gonna make top four. I've said it myself. You've said it all season long. Be a realist. Look at the points per game. We're averaging 1.52 points per game. Don't sit here and tell me that we're going to all of a sudden change it, because you're getting expectations up. And when you get expectations up and you don't achieve it, then you become a doubter.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But as I say, to the point is that there's a synergy, and we do this whenever the team's not great, the atmosphere's not great, and everyone goes, well, the fans need to beef it up. And the reality is both. You need a team to be proud of, a team that you feel are doing what you would love to be able to do on the pitch, and that's to go and die for the shirt and give their absolute all. And normally in the year, and when you get that, we get results as well, which is so that all of that's been kind of undercut in itself. And yeah, I think that's what I mean about it. It felt like I talked about my match reaction about like a bit of a rebirthing moment of, we'll see, Leeds is going to be the next test, and then so on and so forth. But that, it goes back to your point, is that you need to know there's something to be believed in. They need to earn the right to be believed in again, and that's what it was like. Because if they carried on playing like they played in the first 35 minutes, then they're not a team that's going to get people excited. They're not a team that's going to have. They're a team that's going to have people walking out the stadium again, because they've kind of had their spirits crushed by going to do it, and that's footy, isn't it? That's the rise and fall of it all. Those lads on the pitch need to do what they did in order to have the fan base know that there's a mutual trust in there. And look what happens. They do it, and the crowd immediately is like, right, sound, up for it. And Anfield was an absolute bear pit for the rest of the game. And when we work together, look what happens. We should have ultimately taken 3 points off the champions elect there, comfortably as well, by the way.
What I'd like to say is, for someone who's... So I've nearly been every single game so far this season. 2 games I have missed, 2 aways in which we've won, but I've been relatively every other away game. And let me tell you, every single game, we have stood there. We've sang You'll Never Walk Alone. 3-0 down to Wolves. Don't worry, we've still supported you. We've still been there to clap you off the pitch. And those players, bear in mind, first game of the season, Virgil van Dijk didn't even acknowledge our fans in that away end at Fulham. He'd gone straight down the tunnel. Mo Salah doesn't come over to us against Wolves. There's about 3 people who came over to us at Wolves, and yet we still stand there every single game. I do not leave that ground before clapping those players off the pitch. City the other day, half of our fans had left, and I could totally understand why, but the people who were still there still clapped them before eventually going. It's give and take. We're still there. You can see us at the end of every away game clapping you. We went mad singing a new Jota song when we were 2-0 down against Wolves, because we could at least try and entertain ourselves, because the lads on the pitch weren't doing it. It's a two-way street. If that was at the very beginning of the season, and even now on the Cop, people were fuming at some of the players yesterday, and I was like, shut up, get behind them. Get behind them and see what they'll do then. And I totally get it. But when every single time those people who go to the game, and people fume because, oh, you're so lucky to get tickets. I am, but I'm also sat there in the stadium watching a team who look like they can't be asked to play football and wear the badge of Liverpool Football Club, which I have felt so far this season in a lot of games. And I've still sat there and I've still supported them. I've still gone the game. And at full time, I've clapped them all. And I've sang You'll Never Walk Alone to them. So when we talk about, it's a two-way street, I feel like as a fan, it's my job to always be there, and I have always been there throughout the entire start to mid where we are this season. And I've always needed a reaction, and it's never quite been there. That was the first time I saw a reaction in ages.
You can see it in the general demeanour on the Cop, and it's because we now stand up for every minute of every game, and it's how quickly this season people have just started sitting down. Like, we used to be like, they used to tell us to sit down, and you go, fuck's sake, come on, we need to be stood up because it's easy to sing, it's easy to create an atmosphere, and you can just see it in people's demeanours this season. It's just like speed bump after speed bump, roadblock after roadblock, brick wall after brick wall, and all of a sudden it is browbeaten down to the point where people are just giving up and sitting down. It's almost like you feel like, for me, it's like part of your penance. It's like actually the bit of pain of having to stand up for it is part of like what you give in return for Liverpool going and doing the business. But hopefully that is, we've done a lot about turning points this season, and we can't know until they actually win some football matches. But I took a lot of encouragement from that, and that's the thing that came away from that, of going, it's like that. Every time I think you couldn't do something dumber, you go and pull something like this and totally redeem yourself. I was like, I walked out like, yeah, go ahead. We should have won that. I felt like and people were asking about the title, like being robbed. Paul Tierney's the reason why we didn't win that game, because he's a fucking idiot, a genuine referee. Whatever the opposite of a savant is, that's what he is to referee. And Mo Salah, Dan, gets like he gets manhandled in the box right at the end, and the only thing that goes against the only thing that maybe goes against him is that in the end, the thing that sends him to ground is he has to go theatrically, because he's not getting given. He's being pulled and dragged everywhere, and he's almost like going, "Come on, ref, this is enough, right? Surely." There's this, and I tweeted this last night, but it's the myth that Liverpool get too many decisions at home, and you get too many penalties in front of the cop. I mean, like that was our second penalty of the season.
It was our first at Anfield in the league for over a year, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we deserved to. You know, the Jota one's a penalty. It's a clear penalty. The Salah one is a nailed on stone wall. But I genuinely think Tierney just can't be arsed to be in the conversation of the referee that gave 2 penalties at the cop end, because somehow it's like they go back to the referee club with the smoking jackets on.
You fell for it, did you?
And sit back and go, oh, you fell into the trap, as if because of course they never check the stats. It's an absolute fucking myth, but it's incompetence.
Yeah, it is. I think there's numerous factors at play here. To sort of start on the incident, I think the first one could be given. It does definitely impact what Salah's trying to do in terms of his finish. The fact he's getting pulled back means he probably does fire over instead of keeping his knee over the ball. And
Kieran Tierney, that one.
Yeah. And then the second one, he is getting manhandled. I think it's Gabriel is all over him, literally all over him. And he dragged him to the ground in the end. And you're right, Salah does have to make a thing out of it, because he feels like if he doesn't, it's never going to get looked at. But for me, there's so many different factors, because there's a second penalty element to it, like you've already referred to, and giving 2 penalties in front of the cop is a thing. I think there's the fact that Salah, whether rightfully or wrongly, sort of garnered a reputation of going down easily, and ever since that became a real media play, he's just stopped getting given decisions, let alone penalties. He doesn't get free kicks anymore. So I think that is definitely into the psyche of referees when they have the pre-season meetings or whatever it is they have. They're probably not meetings, they're probably Royal Rumbles, given what happened yesterday. They obviously had a conversation about Mohamed Salah and not giving him as many decisions because, like I say, he doesn't get anything anymore. Then you've got the fact that one of his mates, his assistant referee, has elbowed one of our Liverpool players. So that's a talking point in itself. And I also actually believe that, given sort of the magnitude of the moment and the game, not even really from a Liverpool perspective, but from what it might have meant in the title race, giving that second penalty so late on in the game is such a huge talking point. And VAR and refs have got so many decisions badly wrong this season, and we're going to talk about a lot of them in the bias a little bit later, obviously. I wonder whether there was sort of a reluctance to just give anything, because it would have meant so much in terms of the title.
Exactly that. He shit the bed, and again, it goes back to the VAR stuff. There's a little bit of, well, if it's that bad, VAR will bail me out, and then I'm not going to be under scrutiny. But has he got the bollocks there to be like, I'm going to be the guy who gives the decisive decision in the title race? And I think he's either bottled it, or he shit-housed it, or he's deliberately, or he's just so negligent in his role as a referee.
We've seen that at Everton with City as well, didn't we, with the handball that wasn't given against Rodri?
Yeah.
That was a similar sort of magnitude of decision where had the VAR stepped in and gone, do you know what, he's played basketball there in the box, and give it, that means a lot. And it's similar to yesterday, obviously, from an Arsenal perspective, not giving it kind of keeps Arsenal in a strong position. So
but it's a joke, right, isn't it, when you just take a step back and think, well, are you refereeing a title race or are you refereeing a game of footy?
100%, yeah.
It should be that simple. You're not refereeing. If the referee is considering those things outside of the game, then they're not fit to do the job, in my opinion. They just can't be.
Yeah, shocking. And
I think the Jota one was probably the weakest of the 3, and I think it was a pen still.
Yeah.
I can genuinely think the Jota was the weakest.
Really?
Yeah, I think he stands on his foot if you're looking at that.
Jota's clever, isn't he? Gets in the way.
Yeah, Jota moves his body in the way. I think if you were just looking at shoulders and not feet, you'd be like, oh, that's real softy, like, but he does stand on his foot. But the Salah one where he skies over the bar, we were talking, I didn't see it live, we were talking after the game, and he's dragged back like he's fucking riding, I'm fucking doing a wheelie or something, you know what I mean, on a bike, and then he skies it. And why does he sky it? Because he's fucking leaning back like that, because Tierney's grabbing his shoulders and trying to get a 3 count
and
on him.
It's not like, you know, where it's one of them where, oh, well, if he would have continued dragging him for a couple of seconds longer into the box, then yeah, but he doesn't hold him on for long enough. Now, he's got two hands on his arm dragging him that way from when the ball leaves the person's foot, whoever's crossed it in that moment. It might have been Thiago. And literally only a second before Mo Salah gets on the end of it does he let go. But you can instantly tell by the way he instantly lets go and is like looking around that
You know, it's
It's like an admission of guilt almost, isn't it? Speaking of guilt, the linesman elbowed Andy Robertson. No, I didn't see this at all at the time.
No clue.
Someone behind me had said, I think Jota's been booked after the whistle. So I presume that is what had happened. Because like he was then walking away and there were people patting him on the shoulders. He was walking down the tunnel and stuff. And obviously Jordan and is it Victor Matos goes over and has a word with the referees at half time and stuff. It was, but to see after the fact, I mean, I've seen footballers go down and players be sent off for less. It's mad. Like what the fuck's he doing? Why is this? Surely he's gonna get like
8 matches.
Yeah.
8 match ban. He's got to do. You can't put a hand on a
Only
player as a
8.
referee. Well, Mitrovic got 8 for putting a hand on a ref. So the other way down, Lino
I
putting a
feel
hand
like
on a player.
I was like, I didn't even know what was going on. I was just talking to someone next to me and went, oh, there's like a proper fight or something going on over there. And in the middle of the park, you just see everyone fuming around the ref. But like Robertson is slightly going off more than like he gets dragged away. Salah just isn't aware of anything going down the tunnel, and we're all stood there on the cop like, who's being booked there? Who's being booked? And then all of a sudden, I went on Twitter to just see what everyone else was thinking, and I saw Jamie Carragher tweet something like the line who's just elbowed Robertson. And I was like, but there's no footage. No one's, where's the footage? Where's the footage? And then 2 minutes, just as our Arsenal team came out and we clapped Ramsdale, that's when I saw the footage. And everyone around me, once they saw that, didn't have words. Like, I have never seen anything like it in football.
Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. Bizarre. I think Steve tweeted earlier, like, it's like, is it even in the top 10 for most bizarre things that have happened in the Premier League this season? But it's certainly certainly up there. Weird one. What a fucking gang of absolute idiots those referees are. Genuinely.
He was part of the team that Klopp, when he had to go at Tierney last season, he was part of his team then.
The Spurs game, wasn't it, when Robbo got sent off?
That's the one, yeah.
But also, you can see, I've watched it back and you can see that whatever his name is, Constantine, oh my God, you can see that he feels guilty instantly because Paul Tierney books Robertson.
Yeah.
But Hendo pushes the ref and it's like, no, look at him. And the other lino from down the other end, down the Annie Road end, is telling Hendo to calm down. And that other lino who's elbowed Robertson is quietly just holding the ball, not looking at anyone,
Homer
not
Simpson,
saying anything.
Homer
Into the
Simpson
hedge.
backing into the hedge
Literally.
type of thing.
He'd have known, wouldn't he, for about the entire half time. He'd have gone back into the referee's room and gone to them, do you know what, I've just caught him with my elbow there. Like the entire half time, second half, that had been on his mind, thinking, oh, I'm in big trouble when this happens.
Hopefully no one's watched. I'll just check. Oh God.
everyone's seen it.
Everyone saw it.
Everyone's seeing it. Damn.
Idiots. Okay, sounds.
Oh, can we just do a quick shout out for Trent and standing on the penalty spot to make sure Arsenal
Yeah, well
players
played.
couldn't friggin'
And Henderson holding the
it up.
ball as if he was going to take the penalty. Really liked it.
Yeah, really
He
good.
did.
That was it again. We've still got all those bits, haven't we? Great to see Thiago back on the pitch as well. Absolutely, I love that. There's been a little too much for my liking, like get rid of Thiago in the summer chat, which is just like we haven't got enough problems without selling another midfielder. Yes, injury prone. Yeah. He's
We were talking about it upstairs in last week, and it's like everyone's just forgotten how good he is because he's not played.
Literally.
As soon as he comes on the field, and he did that, was it the flicker reverse pass or something?
Trent.
Oh, mate, I'm just like, oh, Thiago's back.
Suddenly everyone who said sell him's like, probably needs a new contract.
Yeah. Just stay fit. Yeah, no, great to see him back on. And look, this is what we're at. For the remaining games of the season. Now, Curtis Jones is fit, he's available, sound, to another body to rotate in. The second he started, that was my thought was very much that is, Thiago's not ready to start that game. If Curtis can hold his own for a while, and he did, he has a massive role to play in the first goal, which I think will do him no end of good. Lovely little through ball. Yeah, encouraging. We're going to need that, and hopefully some more positives to come. We're going to be talking about what happens next after we take this very, very short break.
Hey everyone, come and join us for the very first Redmen TV Liverpool quiz night live at Hotel Anfield. On Friday, May the 5th, we'll be down at Hotel Anfield for an outrageous evening of Liverpool trivia, party games, amazing prizes, and incredible live music from Dave Jaggs of the Ragamuffins. Yes, hosted by our very own deadly duo, Mr. Chris Pajak and Mr. Paul Machin. We promise you an unforgettable Liverpool-themed night. It is the perfect precursor for the weekend's match. So if you're heading to our wonderful city for Liverpool versus Brentford, or if you're just looking somewhere to have an amazing night out with you and your mate, bring your trivia brain, bring your dancing shoes, and best of all, bring your shooting boots as well. So yeah, get your tickets now. Scan the QR code that's on the screen. If you go to ticketquarter.co.uk and just search for the Redmen TV, you can get them there as well. Or just find us on all of our social accounts and there'll be links there too. Don't delay, the tickets are going to sell out fast. There are only limited numbers as well. And best of all, if you want to get a group of your mates together, get on there. You can book tables and you'll get discount for buying as a group as well. So yeah, don't delay. Make sure you go and get them. Come and join us down at Hotel Anfield on May the 5th. It's going to be an absolute belter of a night. Make sure you're there. Go and get your tickets.
Hey, it's the Bias Football Podcast.
We're idiots.
Right, grudge and respect. Chris?
A little bit of a wild one this week. I'm going to give it for Danny Ings, because Danny Ings has just decided to play for every team with claret and blue like it's his colour. There was just nothing in the news this week.
Yeah, I think we can all agree. Danny Ings deciding 2 months ago to sign for West Ham. Due respect of the week.
Bit, but how long was it? In the coma.
Can't even get Ian right.
Steve Wilson, Alan Shearer.
Every single person on the BBC.
You know what? That'll do. Danny Ings. Danny Ings wins the grudging respect of the week. You know what? Actually, Chris Pajak wins the grudging respect of the week. If you can get Danny Ings that win, Jesus Christ.
The biggest story in the news has been all about footy and how much we respect every single person. But no, well then, Danny.
Yes. Come and join us for our very first ever live in-person quiz event. And I use the word event not lightly in any way, shape or form. It's going to be mammoth. It's going to be very much not like... If you've done a pub quiz before, you have that vibe. You might have a pen and paper. You might be answering some Liverpool trivia questions. But then, you might also get asked to get up and finish a Liverpool song or score a penalty against Chris Pajak or do any other manner of physical, mental or technical challenges. You right, Chloe?
Yep.
Cool.
I just didn't know what was coming out your mouth, so I need to just really listen to it.
Okay, so the big picture. If I can sell Chloe on it, then I can sell any of you guys on it. Tickets are on Ticket Quarter right now. Make sure you get them booked. It's ahead of the Liverpool-Brentford game. It's on the Friday, so if you're coming up to the city or you want to just come and have a weekend away, then come and kick it off with us. Right, 9 games left. It is probably too little too late, Dan, but look, we are where we are. I thought Klopp's pre-Arsenal press conferences kind of summed it up pretty well when he's just kind of saying, look, can we get in top 4? I don't know. We've just got to play our football and rebuild something. And the thing that's always worth remembering on this is football continues forever. It's always attached. Seasons exist in isolation technically, but in reality, this is almost like this is the building blocks for next season. So we need to have something in place such that we can start next season on a roll.
Yeah, it's exactly that. In a loose sense, the rebuild starts now, doesn't it? And that's from many senses. There's a tactical sense. We've already seen yesterday a slight tactical switch is maybe something to look into implement a little bit more next season, maybe with different personnel in mind. And also the personnel at his disposal come into that now, because we've seen the likes of Curtis Jones get a little bit of game time. That's big for him. Who knows? We might see some more Fabio Carvalho, some Ben Doak. And we obviously know there's going to be a few outgoings from this current crop, Firmino unfortunately being one. But I think there are sort of squad places up for grabs, I think it's fair to say, ahead of next season, and that's what we're going to see for the next 9 games. But I also think, probably more importantly than anything else, whether it be tactical or sort of the personal people in the squad, I think rebuilding some sort of semblance of that mentality that we've spoken about is more important than anything, and that's going to start probably as a baseline with results, I'd say, because if you go into next season having got 9 games left, say we lose 5 or 6 of them, we draw 1, we win the others, like that's not going to be enough. We're going to be going into it on a real low. But if we can win like 6 or 7, maybe pick up a draw and lose 1, then that's a different thing altogether. And I think yesterday could have been the start of us getting back that against adversity mentality that we had so previously. And I think that might be more important than anything to Klopp between now and the end of the season, is sort of getting us a base to build on for next season, because at the minute, prior to yesterday, we didn't have anything, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yesterday could well have been the start of us turning that around again.
Yeah, we talked about, part of the main part of the podcast already, Chloe, but feeling like you bought into something, feeling like you're seeing more. There's just not been enough to hang our hats on, and there needs to be more of that. Because it's all well and good saying beat Man United, beat Bournemouth, beat Rangers, beat Napoli, we've had some really, really good moments, but the way I kind of had it in my head going into this weekend was those games feel more like the end, the last, like the death throes of the great Liverpool side that went before it, rather than this is a great tantalising look at the Liverpool side that's going to come. And that's what this is going to be about. That's what I like so much about the response against Arsenal, and why that's what needs to continue, is that we need to re-buy in again. You need to go, if I turn up and I come in, it's like signing a contract with to be a Liverpool fan. If you guys promise that you're going to give me loads of energy and effort and fight, then I promise I'm going to dedicate my time and my loyalty and my happiness towards doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's always been that, and you can tell that by the players. We haven't, over the years, we've not always had the most spectacular players, but if you gave absolutely everything for the badge, then you were adored by the club. And that's just, there are players who technically were absolutely outrageous, and yet they still don't have a song on the cup. But Andy Robbo, why does he have a song on the cup? Not because he's an incredible footballer, which he is, but more because of, his aggression, how much passion he puts into the game. And that's what I need to see for the remainder of the season. It doesn't guarantee you anything. I think we're in a top 6 battle more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And even then, it's a case of, even that, the players won't want that. The players next season will probably fume at themselves even more when they've got to do a Thursday night game. I mean, at least they won't have at 12:30 on a Saturday, which we struggle with. But I need to see passion and desire, and I need to see effort. And if you give us that, then we Liverpool fans know that a big transfer window should be happening. I'm fully bought into the fact that it will happen, because it needs to happen, and I think our owners are aware of that now. So I feel like, give me something that I can really go, right, next year, I can see with a few more additions here. Cody Gakpo with a full pre-season, by the way. Darwin Núñez integrating into it. Diaz back, fully fit. Then I can really, really get excited for it again. Yeah,
we need to just not limp toward the end of the season, Chris. And so that doesn't... We all want to be in the Champions League. There's not like anyone associated with Liverpool doesn't want to be in the Champions League, but we want to get excited about wherever we are, because it's full football. We're going to support them regardless. It's not like, they're not in the Champions League. Oh well, I'm gonna love this team less. I'm gonna care less about Liverpool. It's not how it works. But you want to feel like, I want to be able to get in the season and go, we're in the Europa League. Well, I actually can't wait to go and see some more European stadiums that I've not seen in a while, which will sound total delusion, but that's what a football fan's all about. That's what they're playing for. It's a bit of a boring mantra, but that one game at a time, one game at a time. We'll end up where we end up. But now it's just about, looking at Leeds United. How do we get enjoyment out of that? How do Liverpool get the points out of that we need? And then see where it lies, and see where it lies, and see where it lies. And hopefully, for me anyway, we come out in at least European football come the end of the season. If a miracle happens, then be primed, and and we'll see. But that's a month from now we can have that conversation.
Yeah, I
not
think
today.
there'll be Liverpool fans, having conversations about do they want European football and stuff. I think a big club needs European football, whether that's the Europa League or what. I don't see how you can build a side to challenge on 4 fronts by playing in 3 competitions. It just doesn't work for me. Like, you know what I mean? I think we'll probably see Arsenal maybe struggle in the Champions League next season because they didn't have European football this season and weren't tested at quite the same levels. So,
well, they did. Yeah,
not for long.
Yeah. Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in the Europa.
Yeah.
They got knocked out
Yeah.
by Sporting.
They got
Yeah.
that first. Yeah.
So not for long.
Yeah.
You need to go deep in 4 competitions.
There were still 42 rounds left of the Europa League. You're right.
When they
because
went
that's how
out.
that works.
But like that, I think that's an important thing for Liverpool. I think how do you grow your squad size with only domestic competitions? You just can't do it. You need to fatten the squad, unfortunately, because you need to be able to play Champions League football week in, week out. So if you haven't got that, you trim your squad back down to your 18, 19 lads, and then you've got to do a big work the next season to get the lads back in and all that type of stuff to have a 25-man squad that is good enough to be able to rotate throughout match weeks and stuff. So for me, I think European football's key. The other flip side of it all is if we don't see the heart and desire from players, Jurgen will have a cull.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Makes his life easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes his life easier. So don't show a reaction, Liverpool players, and watch you won't be here next season. Because Jurgen won't have that. Jurgen won't have lads coasting week in, week out between now and the end of the season. If people are coasting, they won't be in the squad next season. It's that simple. Because that's the one thing Jurgen wants more than anything. He wants another good person and he wants buy-in.
Yeah.
And if you're not showing him buy-in in the down times, he ain't going to show you the good times.
And moreover, we hinted upon this last week on one of the shows of like, there's a rebuild to come, or there's certainly there's big work to be done in the summer, and then they've got to get in the training ground, they've got to do all these things. If we have another season like this, because everyone keeps saying to me the manager's position, blah blah blah, so it's a non-issue at the moment, and some people will say it because I think we all get emotional, and there's obvious football routes that need to be taken. If results don't go your way, then it always is the manager, because the players have got more strong contracts and you've got to sell players, whereas you can obviously just bin managers off. It will be a conversation. The manager will have that, will be in the frame for negative conversations around his future if he doesn't turn this year around next year. But this is where it leads into this end of the season thing, and again goes back to why I was encouraged by us turning the performance round in play against, because it showed that the players have still got that kind of passion.
Klopp calling them out at half time.
And it doesn't show that they're like, it doesn't need you, because they know it themselves. It shows that they're willing to fight without all that kind of stuff. It's just that we need to get to the summer with a sense of optimism, with a sense of whatever, no matter where we're at, I want to feel excited around watching Liverpool again. And if we carry on the season like we've done, that's not going to be there, and that means Klopp's actually not just fighting to turn tactically around or integrate players or get fitness or get their mentality back. He's got to win the fans over again, and that's the hardest part. That makes it almost impossible to hit the ground running when the new season starts, because you're already carrying this weight of go and impress me. You've got to be good in order for us to turn up. We want to bounce into next season raring to see Liverpool play.
I think it was the COVID season where we'd had a horrific season. Yeah, we had many injuries that season. Mm-hmm. But I remember being there for Palace, the last game of the season, and we got top 4. And people walking out that ground saying, we'll challenge for that title next year. Yeah. And we were like, we've just got top 4. What are you? And everyone thought we were mental. Yeah. But you walked out that ground thinking, next year we'll be back there, Yeah. And that's what I want to feel like.
We need a bit of that, don't we? You're right. Yeah, it's a good point. That really
is. Just in terms of what's coming up, then we've got a week until we play Leeds, our top 4/European rivals. I've got tricky weekends incoming as well, which I think is important. That was the thing that was a little bit disappointing ultimately, why I was so angry with the referee and what have you in the Arsenal game, because if we got 3 points against Arsenal, I think that would have really set us up nicely. This means it's all a bit more of a sort of pipe dream. The results didn't go favourably this time around, and we're going to need a lot of results to go favourably for us. But you're getting into a world where Newcastle have got to go to Villa next Saturday in the early kick-off, which will be a big test for them.
Two form sides there as well.
Flying both
Absolutely. Fulham are away at Everton. Tottenham host Bournemouth. Chelsea have got Brighton at home as well. Brentford travel to Wolves. What else we got? We've got Manchester United, Nottingham Forest. I mean, they might be out of some of them might be out of our league at this point. But
Spurs? Oh, sorry.
Spurs. I've got Bournemouth at home.
Oh.
So there are
Bournemouth are playing well at the minute.
Bournemouth are doing really well at the minute. Dragged themselves out the bottom three. There's points to be dropped. Is my kind of point on this, and we'll know because we'll have a clearer picture with us playing on the Monday night. Is that by the time we get to that, it is an away game. Our away form is still absolutely shocking. But in terms of knowing what they're fighting for, that at least I'll have a clear picture of what the league looks like by the time they kick off.
I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing for us. I really don't. Like, sometimes you think, oh yeah, that works. So, you know what I mean? They might be buoyed by it, and other times you think, well, does it make any odds to these lads? Because they've had opportunities to gain on teams in the past, and it's kind of not really worked out. So, hopefully there is drop point, and hopefully it instills a little bit of belief in the side.
Yeah. Just in terms of what we're looking at the moment, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about Villa on the Bias Football podcast after this, but yeah, Villa up to 6th.
4 games on the bounce if they won.
Yeah, wild, that, isn't it? Absolutely mad.
Fulham on a bit of a slide though, so that's good. So when you mentioned, was it Fulham Everton, I did think, yeah, that's not our business.
Yeah. Fulham level on points with Chelsea, with a game in hand over them as well, which of course they won't win because they've got no striker anymore. But yeah, Brighton. I mean, the thing as well as the week after is the FA Cup semi-finals, which means Man United, Brighton don't actually play. Again, the league games are being postponed for it, and they've got the big impetus of playing that game and the distraction that goes around it. And we'll do a bit more on Brighton because I think they're a really interesting conversation to be had. And whether they can sustain it, they look brilliant. Don't they? They look absolutely. They were absolutely, again. We were robbed. They were robbed against Spurs in a huge way at the weekend. Yeah. But they do look great. They look full of energy, look full of creativity and guile, and that they're going to be a real one to watch. But they're also a kind of team that you could. It wouldn't shock me if everything imploded on them in the final couple of games, and De Zerbi being sent off is probably not going to help.
What
matters.
was that about?
Him and Stellini, wasn't it, on the touchline?
But why?
It was after one of the bad decisions.
Well, no.
I thought they shook hands and they weren't happy with each other instantly.
It's been bubbling under since before the weekend from the press conferences, and something Stellini said, we'll do this on Bias Football podcast. I think too lost.
Well, it'll be news to me. I'm looking forward to that.
Does anyone feel confident of European footy for Liverpool next season?
European
Top 6,
football?
Yeah. Top 7, yeah. Top 4 now.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, same boat. I think for me now, it's not about what other teams do around us. We've just got to concentrate on ourselves, get some results under our belt, get some of them positive feelings going, get Diaz back playing football at some sort of level. Cody Gakpo continues to learn, and what will be, will be. If we find ourselves 2 games out with a shot at top 4, boss, happy days. I felt like this during COVID season as well. What will be for us. Miracle happen, we get it. But I will say, sorry, Chloe, before you jump in, we need European football. Yeah. Like, you made a point before about building the squad, but for me, it's actually a revenue thing. Because a lot of people's complaint about not getting Champions League is missing out on 100 million. You miss out on European football altogether and see where that leaves you revenue-wise. Like, Europa League, you get a good 50-odd million from. Conference, less again. But people's biggest complaint is the loss of money. Well, let's not get Europe altogether and have no money coming in additional. That seems mental to me.
Yeah.
When do we play Spurs? We've still got Spurs
We play
to play.
Spurs on the 30th.
And how many
of this
points
month.
ahead are they?
We are multiple points.
Here I am trying to drag myself back
we
into
are
a top
7
4
points behind Tottenham Hotspur.
I know.
No, sorry, I tell a lie. That's wrong. 9 points behind Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, yeah, it's over.
9 points with Tottenham Hotspur, but we have got a game in hand on them, and we play them.
Just out of interest, what's the gap to 4th? Is it like 12?
It is 12 points to Manchester United.
Yeah,
no games in hand there.
No,
it's not happening, boys.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We were all like, yes.
I did a deep dive 2 weeks ago before the City game and said Liverpool can afford to drop 8 points between now and the end of the season. They've dropped 8 points since then.
Yeah.
We need to be perfect from here on out.
Yeah.
And that gets us to 71.
Yeah.
And I think I worked the average out over every 38 game Premier League season on that deep dive, and it's an average that's increased as the seasons have gone on, and it's 71.5 points on average you need recently to be able to get into top 4. So we win all our games. I think we get to 71.
I think it looks like it's going to be higher than that this year as well again. So your increase in average lends into that. I think it's going to be 73.
We're falling into this trap because we're fucking Liverpool fans, and we've gone from a world where we can just speak about how boss we were each and every week, and now the conversation is: do we think we're going to get top four? Do we think we're going to get top four? And your point is spot on, Chris. There's nothing there that suggests Liverpool are going to put a run of form down. If there's no guarantees Liverpool can win 9 games on the bounce because they've not done it this season. So why would they? Why would they
Especially
do it in the final 9 games?
Yeah,
exactly. And that goes back to the point about this is
0.87 points per game away from home this
that's
season.
horrific.
Yeah.
It's like 3 all year, all season, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've lost in some bad places as well, haven't we? Like Forest, we've lost in some bad places too. So.
And that's good. But that goes back to the point you're right, is that you do your own heading. There's 9 games. We've got 9 games at Liverpool. Come hell or high water, it's either they're going to give us something to get excited about, in which case it's fun. It's 9 games and then it's the summer, or it's only 9 games and then you can switch off for 2 months. You know what I mean? Ignore pre-season if you want. Sack it all off, turn Twitter off, all that kind of thing. Don't even worry about transfers.
I can't wait for Steve and Chris to be on these couches and shorts for the pre-season games and get stuck to that couch again. Fun times are coming, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, as I say, at this point, it kind of is what it is. You can do your own heading by expecting more than what we've been able to deliver. Me refusing to write it off makes no bearing on it whatsoever. I've seen us do too many magical things over too many years for me to sit here and go, because I just don't see the point in going, it's done. It's the same as saying I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but like, just all those making noise, isn't it? You know.
But it's noise based on something for everybody else.
Oh, exactly. But
just noise for noise's sake.
Oh no.
So we're looking at it, and go, well, we're averaging 1.52 points per game. Our away is 0.87. Over the last 5 games, we've averaged 1 point per game. Like that's to be able. These are the reasons why I don't think we're going to make top 4. Because the question is always, are we going to make top 4? And the answer, well, you need to back it up with something. It can't just be, well, yeah, because I like to say the word yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it's the same thing regardless, isn't it? Is that ultimately it's a prediction of the future, and a prediction
based on past events.
Based on past events, which don't have any bearing on the future events because they're not connected.
Or you
could they are in terms of football form.
But
otherwise, we wouldn't look at form tables, which you bring up every week on the agenda.
It's just something to talk about.
Or you could just expect the least and be surprised if you get any more.
Well, yeah, and that's the right attitude, is to go in there, going again, look at enjoy. If you enjoy what football there is left, because it'll be gone, and again we'll all be sat twiddling our thumbs, waiting, dying for the footy to come back. If you've had enough of it, it's not that long until it's done. Now it's like 6 weeks until the footy's done, and then we can all have a big break. But yeah, it kind of is what it is. Right, Sam, we've got plenty more to come. We're going to be talking about other football teams, because there are football teams that do worse things than us. One of them is Chelsea, who not only are shite, but they've brought back a genuinely shite former Everton manager into the dugout.
This might be one of those occasions where the board actually did think, what would Everton do?
Best run football club in the smartest run football club in the country.
You've just got to ask yourself, what would Everton do? Hire Frank Lampard and sack him. Wow. Let's do that then.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Chelsea. We'll do a little bit on Villa. We're going to talk about Brighton being absolutely varred to bits, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So if you want to hear us talking about Premier League matters that aren't pertaining to Liverpool Football Club directly, come and join us on redmenplus.com. If you use the code BIASED, BIASED.
You sure?
Boom. No, not at all. There never will be again. As a club captain, monthly subscription you're going to get for £2 a month for 3 months as well. So come and check out that show, video and in podcast. And we'll be back with another Redmen Originals next week.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Did you know that if you go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend subscriber, I will personally email you every single month with a new code, which gets you 20% off at redmenmerch.com. That's a no-brainer. Go and do it.